Okay, Math 6-5, this is lesson 100, which is located on page 517 of your math textbook. You have already done your time test for Thursday with lesson 99, or maybe you haven't. If you haven't, that was time test I, page 180, as a reminder. So starting in on lesson 100, some of lesson 100 we have touched on before in lesson 99 and in previous lessons. When we had a decimal number, or when we had, a whole number, such as 5, and we needed to put it into an addition problem or something like that, sometimes we would, in order to keep the same amount of digits as the rest of our add-ins, we would, or the rest of our subtraction problems, we would add a decimal number. So we can add a decimal and decimal places and not change the value of the number. For example, this 5 is equal to 5 and 0 tenths is equal to 5 and 0 thousandths. All of these numbers are the same. We just added a decimal point and some zeros after. But they are all equal. We did not change the value of the number. We've done that before. So now today, in lesson 1, this was adding zeros. So in lesson 100, we're going to be taking some of those zeros away and doing what is called simplifying our decimals, which is a way to say removing unnecessary, I may have spelled unnecessary wrong. That's why I teach math and not spelling. Removing unnecessary zeros, we'll call it. Okay, so let's look at what that might be. So if I am given this decimal number, which is 5 and 110 thousandths, there's a way to simplify it. That's a really complicated decimal, and there's a lot of zeros in here that we don't need. So we can remove zeros from the front and the back until we get to a whole number. So if I'm to do that, I have this 0 up here in the front. That's not needed. It's just a 0. So I can remove it and know that my first digit's 5. Now this 0 in the middle is in the middle of whole numbers. We don't want to take that away. But over here on the right of the decimal, we have these 2 zeros sitting over here, which really don't add anything either. So those 2 zeros can be taken away. And we can simplify this to 5 and 1/100th. So basically we removed those unnecessary zeros. So you can remove from the front and the back of the decimal until you get up to that whole number right here. And until we got to the whole number right here. We removed the extra zeros from the sides. Okay, so another way to remove unnecessary zeros or simplify our decimals, if we were given this decimal, which is 500 thousandths, a way to remove it. Now this decimal up front, we typically leave, okay, because it is, there is no whole number, so we typically would leave that, okay? And we would come in and remove the decimals from the back until we get to that whole number, which is 5. So I'm going to remove those 2, okay? So this would be 5 tenths. This is equal to 500 thousandths. These are equal. We're just simplifying the decimal. Now this is what is customary, is to keep that 0. If you just wrote 5 tenths like that, it would be equal also. But the customary thing is to keep that 0 in the ones place for us. So you can apply this when you are adding and subtracting decimals. Usually it will say simplify the answer, and then it will give you some decimals to add. So if you have 4.4 and 6 tenths, plus 6 4/10. And you're supposed to simplify your answer. So let's see. 6 plus 4 is 10. We bring that decimal straight down and carry forward our 1. 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 1 is 11. So our actual answer we got is 11 0/10. But because 11 is a whole number here, we can move forward till we get to that whole number and delete that decimal and make our answer just 11. So in the same way that we have added when we started out, at least on lesson 99 and some of the other lessons we've done, we have added in those zeros in the past. This lesson is going to want us to simplify and take it to its simplest decimal form and get rid of those unnecessary zeros. And when we have a whole number like this, we don't even have to write the decimal. It's understood that that decimal's there. So you don't even have to write that. You can just write 11. So in your practice problems for lesson 100, it will give you some decimals like the ones I started off with, and it will want you to, that whole thing. It'll want you to simplify them. So your answers would be these answers. It'll give you some addition and subtraction like this and want you to simplify your answer. It's telling you to simplify it to take away the unnecessary zeros is what I'm trying to say. And then it could give you a problem, a number, 3.5, and tell you add zeros to the end without changing its value. Well, we've done that before. If we're going to add zeros to the end without changing its value, we can it will say attach a 0 to the end without changing its value. Okay? If it had just said add zeros, you could just add as many zeros as you wanted, and it wouldn't change its value. But in the problems you'll see, it'll tell you to attach a 0 to the end without changing its value. If it was a whole number and it tells you to attach a 0 to the end without changing its value, so it's a whole number, we know can be a decimal and a 0 after it, and those are equal. Those are equal. You could put many zeros after it, and it would equal the whole number. So this lesson tied in very closely with lesson 99 and some of the other lessons we've done. The difference was in the past, we were adding those zeros to make it where every number had the same amount of decimal places. Now we are just removing some of those zeros to simplify our decimals. If you have any questions, just give me a call or a text. And again, your practice problems are on page 518. Page 518. So just have your parents check those over for you. And if you have any questions, let me know. Hope y'all are doing good.